5:59.
Mr. Hiddle? Jennifer, are we ready to rock and roll? On your end?
My end, I'm ready.
Ryan?
Hey, check the recording. Sure.
Good there?
Thumbs up.
Because it does start, if you look at the clock,
It's funny.
5:56.
Yeah.
And that's wrong.
This is wrong, okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, the last meeting didn't start till 6. We started BZA early, and then at 6, the recording started.
Mr. Hiddle, are we ready? All right. Without further ado, we will go ahead and call the October 20th, 2021 APC public hearing to order. First item on the agenda is the roll call. Mr. Burns?
Jackson Bogan,
Present.
Larry Leverins,
Present.
Carla Snodgrass,
Present.
Gary Schroeder,
Present?
Jerry Reynolds, Greg Jones,
Present.
Bob Metzger, Diana Looper,
Present.
Vicki Pearl,
Present.
Michelle Dennis, Tom Murtaugh, Perry Brown, Tracy Brown,
Present.
Jason Domkowski, Lisa Dullum, Kathy Parker, Jody Hamilton. Quorum present.
Thank you, sir. On to the briefing session. Mr. Hiddle?
All cases are ready to go forward, Mr. President.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from the September 15th, 2021 meeting as submitted.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries. New business.
I move to hear and approve Resolution PD 2106, Brixmore Property Group, Sagamore Park Center, 2021 PD, Z 2838.
I second.
Ryan?
All right. Well, if you all remember the rezone effort that took place not too long ago, in fact, just about a month ago, we, the original plan development from 2016, the latest version of the plan development, it's gone through several over the decades, actually. It left out some uses that they now want to bring to the site. This was prompted by a veterinarian use that does other things as well and was interested in coming. And so working with the city staff, we developed a list of essentially prohibited uses. So it's a kind of everything allowed in the GB except, and then it's on this list. And so we're sort of christening this our first change of use plan development. We're in the process of amending the PD ordinance to sort of put this in the code as a track that a plan development can take when there's no physical changes being programmed and the administrative officer feels that parking and other important issues would not be affected by these changes in use, to allow for an expedited process so that they don't have to completely redo all the plans and all that. It'll save a lot of money and time. And so as we get that ordinance together, that we went ahead and did what we could with our current ordinance to get this this case through, so that this veterinarian use business can go ahead and move in. So Westside Council did approve, and final detailed plans are very limited to that document, and then the reference document that connects it to the original recorded final detailed plans. So everything's in order. There's no bonding necessary, so we are recommending approval of Resolution 2106.
Thank you, Ryan. Any question or any questions from the commission members for Ryan? Petitioner?
Petitioner had told me that they were not be able to send a representative.
Fair enough. Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak in regards to this petition? In favor? Against? Any questions? Okay. We have our yellow ballot, Res PD 21-06.
14 votes in favor.
Thank you, sir. We will now move to the public hearing where I must read a statement. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the book on tape. For those of you unfamiliar with our procedures, the Commission would like you to know the following. When we hear a request to subdivide land, we are only concerned as to whether the actual drawing showing the division into lots meets the technical requirements of our ordinance. The question of appropriateness has already been determined. Anyone wishing to make comments or provide us with the information regarding any subdivision petitions will be given the opportunity to do so. When we are hearing a request for a change in zoning, we are trying to determine if the new zone being requested and the uses allowed in that zone are appropriate to that property and supported by the comprehensive plan. With each case being heard, our staff will present its report. Then the person requesting the rezone will be given an opportunity to speak. Following that, those of you wishing to speak in favor of the rezone will be recognized, and then those of you who wish to oppose it will have a turn. This will be your only time to speak. The person requesting the action will be allowed a rebuttal. Plan Commission members will then ask questions and finally vote. Please limit your statements to no more than 5 minutes. We ask that you not repeat what others before you have already said. We are a 17-member body, and the majority of 17 is 9. Regardless of how many commissioners are actually present, at least 9 votes in favor or 9 votes against are required for action to be official. If fewer than 9 of us agree to either approve or disapprove an action, that case must be heard again next month. Our vote on a request to subdivide is final. Our vote on a request to rezone serves as a recommendation to the appropriate City Council, Town Council, or County Commissioners, who must ultimately decide on changes in zoning. When addressing the Commission, please state your name and address for the record. Cell phones must be turned off while the meeting is in session. If you need to make a call, please step out of the room before using your phone. All exhibits presented to the Commission become the property of the Commission.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application to be heard this evening and become part of the evidence at such hearing, the Unified Zoning Ordinance, the Unified Subdivision Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Plan Commission, the application and all documents filed therewith, the staff report, and recommendations on the applications to be heard this evening, and responses from checkpoint agencies.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries. On to subdivisions.
I move to hear and vote on S 5028 QT 7260 addition, replat of lots 1 through 4 and Gateway Park Commercial, minor sketch.
I second.
Mr. Burns?
Good evening, everybody. Here we can see in yellow, back up, the property in Battleground here consisting of 4 different lots, all zoned HB. These 4 lots were originally platted in 2008. Since that time, there has been no development. Just to the south of this, on this area, you can see the foundation of the former Basin Hotel, Motel that some of us might remember. So this is a land just north of that. Looking at the plat here, you'll see what's crosshatched are some of the easements that were put in place in 2008 when this was 4 separate lots. Now that there's a user for all 4 of these lots together, they're asking to replat it to 1, and they'll remove some of these easements that no longer make sense for drainage and utilities and create new easements for the new user of this lot. I think you might all know that QT, QuickTime, is the potential user of this lot, a gas station convenience store. We can let the petitioner's representative answer any questions about that. So staff is recommending primary or conditioner approval.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Petitioner? Welcome. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Wes Myers. I'm with Farnsworth Group Engineering and Surveying in Champaign, Illinois, 2211 West Bradley Avenue, Champaign. This is basically a replat of 4 lots that have been existing for some time, and with any replat, you have specific issues. So basically, sheet 1 of the minor sketch plan is, in a sense, erasing some of the old easements that no longer make sense for the current development. There's some that were serving the hotel property to the south. The second sheet that we are looking at now is putting easements back in place. The easement, the 60-foot wide easement that comes around off of Northgate Court will serve as a new access to the hotel property. And the sanitary sewer, one easement that was shown as an angling easement on the property, is going to be run out into the right-of-way of State Route 43 to come down to serve to the property. So all the infrastructure and access to the hotel property is going to be maintained with the current development. If there's any questions, I can certainly try to answer those if anyone has any. I should also mention that, and I just found this out myself, that Quick Trip wants us to continue with the plating process so they can close on the property. Then I've been told they intend to put this site into inventory, meaning that they're not going to construct it right away. I don't know how long. The two agents that I deal with from Quick Trip tell me that they don't know themselves. It's a corporate level decision, kind of above their pay grade. So I just wanted to let everyone be aware of that it's going to be put into inventory for a while. So what they intend to do with the easement situation, assuming this moves forward with the vacation and the reestablishment of the easements, until such time that they do construct the property, they will create an agreement or a license with all of the users and the people that are the parties that have interest in these easements to continue to use them as they are until the new construction occurs. So, in a sense, nothing will change.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Myers? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition? In opposition? Questions? We have a white subdivision ballot requesting conditional primary approval.
Am I missing anyone? No, we got 3 more. Yeah, we have a unanimous ballot for approval.
Thank you, Mr. O'Gara. S5036, Arbor Chase.
I move to hear and vote on S 5036 Arbor Chase by the Lakes, Section 6, Phase 1, Major Preliminary.
I second.
Mr. Hiddle.
Thank you, Mr. Bogan. David Hiddle with the Area Plan Commission, here with S 5036, which is a major preliminary plat request before you. This is a site that's a little over 20, or a little under 20 and a half acres. It is zoned R1 for single-family development, and it is entirely wooded as of the moment. It is in the city of West Lafayette. So the proposal is to establish, or legally establish, Phase 1 of Section 6 of the Arbor Chase by the Lakes subdivision. This phase would include 42 lots, and staff has reviewed and determined that it does meet all the technical requirements of the R1 classification. Just to give you a kind of a nutshell overview here. In terms of lots, what's proposed here would be a typical lot detail of about 90-foot lot width and a 16,200 square foot lot area, whereas R1 requires a 75-foot minimum lot width and a minimum 10,000 square foot area, so it meets those minimum requirements quite easily. Just a couple other notes unique to this case is there are wetlands on site. In fact, the site is perhaps mostly wetland. What's notable here is that this body does not regulate wetlands. They're regulated by the IDEM, the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, Water Division, and by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And so any permissions that are necessary for development in the wetlands, for mitigation of wetland development, anything like that is going to have to be acquired by those bodies before they can turn any shovel in the ground here. So As noted, we are recommending approval because they meet the technical requirements, and also they are requesting permission to bond. And I believe they're agreeable to the conditions that are mentioned in the staff report. So staff would answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, David.
I didn't do a very good job of locating this. This is at the northern terminus of West Moreland Road, and it's about equidistant from Salisbury on the west and Soldiers Home on the east, if that helps.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Petitioner's representative wishing to speak on this?
Good evening, Kevin Riley, attorney with Riley, Teeter and Schreier, representing the petitioner. We do agree that the request meets all the technical requirements of the ordinance. With respect to the wetlands, we have received confirmation from the Corps that these areas don't fall within their regulations. We have reached out to IDEM, and we will abide by whatever requirements IDEM has when we begin to develop these lots. As mentioned, we have requested bonding. The petitioner is willing to comply with all the conditions set forth in the staff report, and we request your approval. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, sir. I have one question just from a math standpoint. 42, and am I counting 47 or 48 lots on this? And
40, how many? 42?
there are 42? Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and take comment. If you would review that.
Sure.
For count, because I mean, I'm looking at the little boxes and I count them, and I get more than 42.
There is some carryover on the second page from the first page. For instance, lot 385. So, yeah.
Thank you. I did not account for that. Okay, very well then. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone in opposition? If you would, please come forward and state your name and address. For the record, please.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Abbott. I live at 3839 Westmoreland Drive, so 2 houses below this. The first thing I wanted to bring up is that reviewing the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers map, there is wetlands right north of us to the left, so right kind of where that intersection is and a little bit to the left of what I'm looking at. So that quadrant has a small, I think it's 0.1 acres. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers report does say that they are not regulating that, and it does not fall under the 404 Clean Water Act. However, it is identified as a form of wetlands. So the conservation aspect is definitely something that is important to me, but if that decision is made that you guys are going to build over it, I don't have much say. But I do want to make sure that the drainage is going to be appropriate and that something is going to happen for the native plants and wildlife. We do not have many trees. This is our one wooded area, so we would like as much conservation as possible. However, for us, I know that as soon as I moved in, I had to pay $1,500 for drainage in my backyard because our easements do not drain very well. And my neighbors have also had to pay to have their drainage fixed. So we do not want to have construction come in and more drainage issues. So that is something I would like to bring up. And then also, my next point would be the roads connecting. So it looks like from the plans that I have seen, there is no clarity on when the roads will connect, if they will ever connect east-west, Soldiers Home to Salisbury or 50. And there's no plans for it to connect to 500. So it seems that this whole area is going to just be through Westmoreland Drive from the south. So from a safety aspect, if there's only the one entrance for fire, police, and all of that, I feel like that's a safety issue. And then for also traffic in the neighborhood, we know we're getting all the construction traffic when it's happening, which, not thrilled about, but we can put up with for short term if we know that there are plans that eventually it will connect and we will not be the only access point. And my last point will be the Tippecanoe School Corporation has not really been answering too many questions about what their plans are with all these new subdivisions, and then this one especially. for how they're going to do the enrollment. Because, you know, for us, we already saw that record enrollment for kindergarten this year at TSC. We have a lot of children in Arbor Chase. I'm sure if this is a very similar neighborhood, they're also named Arbor Chase, so I'm sure their homes are going to be similar. They're probably also going to be having a lot of children. So we already have issues with buses and with all of that stuff and with enrollment. So I just want Tippecanoe School Corporation to be aware of all of these homes going in and kind of figure out what their plans are for how they are going to accommodate all that enrollment. So those are my points. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abbott.
Good evening. I'm Tim Johnson. I'm 3759 Litchfield Place in Arbor Chase, and I back up against probably 4 of these lots. And there already is water issues that are coming into my property. And so there's a section back in there that people can support. I appreciate neighbors that are doing that, but there's neighbors that aren't doing it. And my concern is what's going to be done with this over here. Thank you.
Very well, thank you. Mr. Johnson. Anyone else? I'll go ahead and touch. So just so you know, a couple things that we have here, I'll go ahead and explain. So drainage is one of those items that is actually not before us tonight. Not saying that it's not a concern, but it's not this body that does it. There's actually a separate drainage board for the county. And so this, should this get approved, this will actually have to go before the drainage board, or the city engineer, excuse me. And that happens, do you know when that would take place?
Well, it's part of their review
Okay.
that they would do. So, yeah. Commissioner?
Building commissioner.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, after they're approved, they have to get their construction plans
Yep.
together, and before those would get approved and recorded, they would have had to have had drainage approved.
Drainage must be approved on top of it.
The city and the city's consultants.
Okay.
So,
Wonderful.
so the timing kind of depends on when they decide to get their construction plans together.
Fair enough. Any questions? Rebuttal? Oh,
So are you going to duly note that there is a drainage sensitivity in your report?
yes, it's noted. It's on the record. Thank you. Rebuttal?
In terms of, I guess there was a stated concern about drainage. We don't know that that's
Sure.
actually an issue. We're not aware of any concerns from the school corporation with respect to this, and those are really, and we've already touched on drainage being addressed elsewhere, so those were the only points I wanted to make. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions? With that, we have a white subdivision ballot, Arbor Chase by the Lakes, S5036, with bonding. Thank you.
We have a unanimous ballot for approval of both items. Thank you.
Thank you very much. S 5037, Park 350.
I move to hear and vote on S 5037 Park 350 Industrial Park minor sketch.
Mr. Burns again.
Okay. All right. So in this case, we're on the south side of Lafayette. On the north side of this yellow box is Veterans Memorial Parkway, and running along the eastern side of the property is David Howarth Drive. The purpose of this request is well, I'm going to read straight from the report because Don put it very well. The purpose of this application is to reinstate the primary approval for the last 9.9 acres of these 125 acres of this greater development. And I zoom out, you can kind of see everything here, the 125 acres. So these 9.9 shown in yellow are the last to be platted. Originally, it was granted approval in 2005. There were a number of two-year extensions after that. However, the last one lapsed in April. So unfortunately, they had to come back and do a minor subdivision to create these lots here. Let me go to the plat here. Okay, here we can see the three lots in question, these 9 acres. All of them will have access here to the south on Burr-Sweezy Drive. There's a no vehicular access statement platted on the south side of Veterans Memorial and David Howarth. All of the utilities and right-of-way and everything has been in place for a number of years. Sorry about that, guys. Mouse is going a little crazy there. So everything's been in place. This is the last piece of the puzzle. So with this request, we're recommending conditional primary approval.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Petitioner, petitioner's representative.
Hello, Cameron Seymour with Schneider Geomatics, representing the petitioner. We agree with John and Don's and the staff's report. We respectfully request approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seymour. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this? Opposition? Questions from the commission? We have a white subdivision ballot.
We have a unanimous ballot for approval.
Thank you, sir. Brownstone, Z2841.
I move to hear and vote on Z2841 Brownstone Development LLC, Brownstone Condominiums PD, CB to PD CC.
I second.
All right. Well, just south of downtown here on South 4th Street, you may have seen a lot of activity over the last couple of years. This project kind of came in first. We had a development group that was interested in kind of developing both sides of the street. They kind of split, and one side took one side of the street, the other took the other. So we have, the Nova Tower that's been recently completed and it's fully leased out. That's a 77-unit project, and it's a little too new for the aerial photos. This building has been around a bit longer and was purpose-built for condominiums, but they didn't have the zoning. You can only do plan development, or you can only do a condo, residential or non-residential condo, through plan development. So it was essentially a multifamily apartment building, but it was never utilized as such. They essentially completed it. We did a walkthrough. They staged one of the units, and it's just kind of sat there. So, but they're finally ready to pull the trigger on the condo. So that required this rezone effort. So it was, again, purpose-built, 12 units. Each unit is 2 stories. So there's the first units are, kind of a sub-level and then a ground level. And then there's the next round of 6 units are the second and third floors. They each have a single-space garage located in the back here. There's 2 detached garage buildings that contain all of the garage units. And they have access. They enjoy pretty good access. There's public alleys on the north side and on the east side. And so they have direct access into these garages from there. If you've been out to the site, it's fully complete. Gates are there for key fob access. There is a handicap surface space, so there is actually an additional parking space for any visitor or resident that wants to make use of that. It's an interesting project. We were able to do a walkthrough last week in it, and they've got 2, which it's not really shown here very well, but 2 patio spaces that they've constructed. They've really made the most of this very tight little urban space, and one of the walkout patios is right out here on top of the garage building. And so the upper units are able to have direct access onto it, and it's a common space for them, so the condo association would take care of all of this. And then they have a lower patio down here at grade with the driveway. It's kind of right off the driveway, and it is treated there with kind of a brick pattern, just open seating area. So it's very secluded, but very private, but it definitely works well with the overall concept. Again, all the there's front and back doors to every unit. There's kind of a circuitous way of getting to them from the back, but we basically have 2 sets of stairs. One descending stair goes to the lower unit back doors, and then we have 2 staircases that go to the upper deck where you can get to the back doors of the upper units. And then, of course, they all have a front door out on front. The lower units have a light well with a descending staircase, and then the upper units have a bit more of a grander staircase to get to the top. So, of course, city utilities are present, and it's ready to move in, so to speak. So we haven't had a PDCC rezone petition in over a dozen years. So the condo market kind of died after the Great Recession, and for those that remember, and this was just before my time here, there was a slew of downtown Lafayette condo conversions, all sorts of different projects that came in, mostly converting old commercial buildings from a bygone day into residential. And so we had all these factory condos, including the condo right next to this building. We had the cracker factory, the puzzle factory, all sorts of factories, and that used to actually make stuff, and now there's condos. And they're very unique living situations. But it proved there was, at that time, an interest in downtown residential home ownership. And so we're very encouraged to see this petition come forward, thinking that demand, that interest may be coming back. So we enthusiastically approve. The conditions here are fairly standard for a PDCC. We kind of had to dust off an old report to find out what we did 12 years ago. But fairly simple stuff, including proof that the articles of incorporation have been filed and approved by the state, et cetera. So nothing unusual there. Just it's different from a standard plan development that we normally see. So be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, let's see, we'll kind of just leave it there on the profile there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Gara. Petitioner's representative.
Yes, good evening. Chris Shellman of Gutwein Law, 250 Main Street. I'd like to thank the staff for their support and help on this project, and it's really my pleasure to bring this trailblazing project before you. Developer Representative Jim Rao, the principal of Brownstone Development, is here, and this is really the culmination of a labor of love for him. If you've driven by and had the opportunity to check it out, it's not just another apartment complex or anything like that. He's really put a lot of time, thought, and energy into it. And the result is certainly a unique expansion of our near downtown area and a significant investment, which hopefully trailblazes us into generations to come along that location of town. Ultimately, we agree with the staff report, accept all the conditions, and we look forward to taking the next step and wrapping this project up and hopefully ushering new homeowners into the near downtown area. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Shellman. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Opposition? Questions from the commission members? Everybody's a chatterbox tonight. Z2841, yellow ballot, Brownstone Development.
We have 14 votes recommending approval. This case will now advance to City Council next month.
Thank you, sir. Any administrative matters? None? Approval of the November Executive Committee agenda.
I move the following request for subdivision be placed on the November 3rd, 2021 Area Plan Commission Executive Committee agenda at petitioner's request. Placement thereon being without reference to compliance or non-compliance with the adopted subdivision ordinance. S. 5039 Norfleet Commercial Subdivision, Part 4, a replat of Lots 3 and Part 3, minor sketch.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries. Determination of variances.
I move that the following requests for variance from the Unified Zoning Ordinance are not requests for use variance prohibited from consideration by ordinance and statute. BZA 2062, James N. Tyler and Jennifer L. Neville. BZA 2063, Reasons Incorporated. BZA 2064, Mark Your Space, Michael Sobel.
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Director's report.
Thank you. I emailed out the report yesterday. Be happy to answer any questions you might have. I will note, I'd like to introduce Jennifer Ewan, who is our meetings secretary and in charge of payroll. She's gotten acclimated very quickly, and gosh, are we happy to have her with us now.
Welcome, welcome. Everybody's best friend in charge of payroll. I'd like to comment, David, I really like the format of the director's report, so thank you very much. The summary page is extremely helpful overall,
good.
so
Okay.
thank you. Any questions, citizens' comments, grievances?
I have a quick question, just a point of clarification. Ryan, you said the Nova's full? Is that what I understood?
Yes.
Okay. Just curious if I heard that correctly.
There you are. Mr. Schroeder,
I didn't know they were
I move to adjourn.
thank you all.
Because they're still doing work outside of it, that's what I was like.